What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Blue here. We are doing another Blues Budget Battle Brews this week, and this week we are doing Orzhov Cycling. This is black and white cycling, okay? We're going to get into the strategy for that, and then we'll go ahead and do a small upgrade section. So, here we go. The strategy here is pretty simple, is to stick something or get something on the board that benefits heavily from cycling all of your cards away, and then you cycle away, and then you get whatever the benefit is from there, and then there's a small like life gain and recurring things from the graveyard sub-theme in here as well. So we'll go over all that, and we'll tell you how to do the upgrades. So let's start off by showing you the deck. Let me back out a little bit. All right, so we start off with Flourishing Fox. Now remember, I said the strategy here is to stick something that benefits from you cycling cards away. So he has the benefit of getting a +1/+1 counter whenever you cycle a card away. So he'll get bigger, and you can attack with him. And let me zoom out just a little bit more. All right, so I got two of them. Another card that benefits from cycling is Durant Healer. He helps you with life gain, so you can gain life, so you can live. Valiant Rescuer. He's a 2-cast 3/1 that whenever you cycle another card for the first time each turn, that's important. You create a 1/1 create a human soldier token that's a 1/1. Okay, they all cycle also, in case you don't need to do this. So I got two of them. Now we also have other kinds of cycling. So in this deck, I have Noble Templar, which has plain cycling. So what that means basically is you pay 2, and instead of discarding this card and drawing a card, you discard this card and search your library for a plains card. Keep that in mind. Plains card is important. It doesn't have to be a basic land. Got 4 of them in there because you just want to get to your lands and get them on the field. Eternal Dragon. So it's a high casting cost, so it's 7 to cast for a 5/5 flyer. However, his ability is for 5. Return him from your graveyard to your hand, and you can only activate it during your upkeep. The point here is to plain cycle him, so listen, catch me on this one. Plain cycle him, so you get a plains in your hand, and you play it, right? And then it's in your graveyard, so it costs less to cast for a 5/5 flyer. So more beatdown. That's part of the graveyard recursion. Herald of the Forgotten, so it's 8 to cast, don't mind that. Flying, 6/6, and when he enters the battlefield, if you've cast it, return any number of target permanent cards with cycling abilities from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, realize when I go through this deck, you're going to see a lot of permanents that have cycling, i.e. all these things here had cycling. So if you cycled them away, you've gotten down to 8 lands, which, if you've done it right, this deck should, with Durant Healers, have kept you alive long enough to get to the 8th land drop. Cast them, drop your whole army, okay? Horror of the Broken Lands, again, it also has cycling. It's a 5 to cast 4/4. And then it says, whenever you cycle or discard another card, he gets +2/+1. It's on the turn, so he can get bigger. This one's a little different than the other cycling deck I had, where that one was purely just combo stuff. This one actually has the ability to win with combat damage. So I got 4 of them in there. Twisted Abomination, just like the plain cycling, this one has swamp cycling. So what you do is you cycle it away and go grab a swamp card. Keep that in mind. Remember, I said it twice already. It goes and gets a swamp card. So he's a 5/3. Also has cycling, considered that, so he can be recurred with the, what's his name, the Herald. So I got 4 of them. No, I think I only got 2 of them. No, I got 4 of them. Twisted Abomination, I'm sorry. I was talking about Twisted Abomination. I got 2 of them. No, I've got 4 of them too. He regenerates too, so that's always nice. Void Beckoner is next. It's an 8 to cast, 8/8 Death Toucher. When you cycle him away, you can put a Death Touch counter on something. Doesn't matter what. You're just trying to cycle through so you can recur them. 2 of them. Angel's Song is in here to help keep you alive so you can get to that higher converted mana cost or mana value stuff. It also cycles away in case you don't need it for later. I got 4 of them in there. Guided Light. It makes it so that you can't be targeted. That's for against burn decks. You can cycle it away if you don't need it. If you're not playing against burn, it's very helpful though. It helps keep you alive longer. Renewed Faith, again, I'm trying to keep you alive, but the good part about it is that, again, everything here cycles away, so in case the situation doesn't call for it, you don't need it, but this will help you gain life, even if you don't cast it. So when you cycle it, you can also gain life. Suffocating Fumes is 3 to cast, helps kill your opponent's creatures. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1. If you're not playing something that this matters about, again, you can cycle it away. Absorb This, so again, high converted mana cost. This one's not a permanent, but it does help keep you alive. So if the target player loses 4 life and you gain 4 life, it's kind of like a gain and drain. It cycles away for a basic land. Now, this is different from plain cycling and swamp cycling. This one actually only lets you go get a basic land. Doesn't matter what, though. So it lets you go get a basic land of any kind. Got 4 of them in there. Then Astral Drift is more of a both offensive and defensive, depending on how you're playing or what your opponent's playing. It's an enchantment that costs 3. Again, it cycles. So when the other card here, this guy here, says permanents, it doesn't just mean creatures, it also means things like enchantments. So it says whenever you cycle Astral Drift or another card while it is in play, you may exile a creature, and if you do, return that creature to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So that helps a couple ways. So when you, basically this is blinking. So when you blink somebody's creature, you can blink your own to save them, or you can blink your opponent's to make it so they can't attack for the turn. Okay? And that's the foil, and it's actually the pre-release foil. Faith of the Devoted. So this is your kill card. You want this to stick the most. So your whole point of this deck is searching for this card. Third to cast enchantment. Whenever you cycle or discard any card, you may pay 1, and if you do, each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. So the point here is to cycle stuff away and then drain your opponents. So I got 2 of them in there. And then Abandoned Sarcophagus says whenever you you may cast non-land cards with cycling from your graveyard. Okay? Everything in here has cycling except for the Faith of the Devoted, I think. And it says if a card with cycling would be put into your graveyard from anywhere and it wasn't cycled, exile it instead. So basically you get double, this helps you get double benefit from all of your cards. Cycle it away, you get to draw a card, then you can cast it from your graveyard. Plain and simple, all right? And then we've got the lands, some Evolving Wilds to help you get to the right lands, because you definitely need the lands out and play that are the right ones. Scoured Barrens, I chose these instead of Guild Gates like I normally do because it helps give you life, to help keep you alive longer for them. And then I think it's like 7 of each Plains and Swamps. So that's the deck in a nutshell. You can see where the theme's going. It has an identity problem at first because it's situational. So what you're trying to do is figure out what you need to do. Do you need to gain life? Do you need to make your creatures bigger? Whatever you have. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started on the upgrade section, and we'll show you how to make this deck even more powerful. Alright, so for this upgrade section, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to tell you exactly what to put in here to make it so that this deck actually works very well. Now, your meta, or whatever your opponents are playing, will dictate how you play it out, but this is the most direct way of just winning, alright? So, we're going to go ahead and tell you to add the following. 4 Fluctuators. Obviously, that makes it so that all cycling costs 2 less to cast. So, anything that's a colorless, just flat out 2 to cycle, or 1 to cycle in some cases, will be free. So you can basically discard, draw, discard, draw, discard, draw, and depending on what's on the battlefield will help you. Especially if you have a Faith of the Devoted, so you can just pay the 1 and start draining your opponent. Alright? We're going to do something a little different. I'm going to actually tell you about lands first this time, because in this deck, the lands make basically the deck. So there are 3 lands that cycle for 2 colors. So if you have a Fluctuator in play, obviously, you can cycle the lands away and draw cards that you need, so you can get regular basic lands that come into play untapped, so you can gain benefits from whatever else comes into play whenever you cycle something. So we're going to go with Drifting Meadow, Polluted Mires, and Blasted Landscapes. All of them cycle for 2 generic mana, and Fluctuator will make them for free. And also, to make benefit, the next set of lands will help you benefit from the Plain Cycling and the Swamp Cycling that this deck has. Now, I'm not telling you to buy this deck and go out and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for this, but the best way you can upgrade this deck is to go get a playset of scrub lands. I know OG dual lands are not exactly the cheapest thing in the world, but it would make this deck run very smoothly. You can't afford that, you go with Godless Shrines. They're the pain lands that come into play, and they have the 2 land types. And if that's not in your budget, you can go ahead and get these, what are these called? They are Snowfield Sinkholes. They are the new ones from Kaldheim that are snow-covered. They have both land types. In this case, it's a swamp and a plains. Unfortunately, they come into play tapped. So those are ways that you can get around and make it cheap to get what you need to do in this deck. But those are the lands that I would choose just so that you can get a benefit from all your swamp cycling and plain cycling. The next changes, I would add 2 more Faith of the Devoteds, because each one you can trigger for each cycling. So if, for instance, you cycle 1 thing for free and you have 4 land open, if you have 4 Faith of the Devoteds out, you can pay 1 for each one, and then you're dealing 8 damage and gaining 8 life. So, benefits from redundancy. I would add 2 more Valiant Rescuers and 2 more Flourishing Foxes, so that you have some defense, making bigger creatures. Maybe your way of winning is going to have to be, this is how you pivot, this is how you adapt. You can make creatures your main way to win instead of cycling and using things like Faith of the Devoted. So, that's the only upgrades I can think of. However, I will throw one last one in. This one's one of those things where it's going to look weird when I say it, and it's going to look weird when I suggest it, but I'll explain it. So, if you wanted to, you could go Aether, Flux, Reservoir, and let me explain. So, normally you use an Aether, Flux, Reservoir to cast a lot of spells, gain a lot of life, and then, in Commander anyway, and then you spend 50 life to deal 50 damage to burn an opponent off the board. That's not how you would use it in this instance. So with Aether, Flux, Reservoir out there, with everything you have going on here, you can go the life gain route. And I've shown you before with Durant Healers, for each time you cycle a card. So if you have a Fluctuator out, and you have somehow, some way, you've got the healers out, for each card you cycle, you gain a life. So if you cycle 10 cards, you've gained 40 life. So, and I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that's how you can go about doing it. I know that cycling doesn't count as casting a spell, so you won't gain the benefit of life gain. However, you will gain life from Valiant Rescuers and other things like Faith of the Devoted, if you're paying for it and draining your opponent and gaining the life. So what you could do there is just gain enough life till you get to above 50, so you can pay the 50 and then burn your opponent off the board. It's a little overkill. It's not as, convenient as the rest of the deck can be. However, it's just an option. So those are just the options that I'm choosing to tell you about. There are other ways you can do it if you want to go ahead and take a look at that. You can just send me a message or something like that, contact me. So this is where I'll tell you can contact me through 3 ways. You've got the Facebook page, which is bluebearsgames on Facebook. You can send me an email. It's bluebearsgames@gmail.com. Or you can put a comment in the section below on the video. And then you can just tell me how to contact you and we can go over it. But that's what I've got for you for the upgrade section. That's all Other than that, do me the favor. So please like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And share this out to somebody who either A, might be interested in building something like this, or B, possibly might want to purchase this deck. And speaking of that, these decks, again, are $20 a piece. And I ship anywhere in the United States. Apparently, shipping costs outside of the United States are a lot more expensive than I thought. So anywhere in the United States, I will go ahead and send to. So I've given you the contact information. If you want to go ahead and do that, just go ahead and contact me. Other than that, that's my time for the week. I want to thank you for joining me. And I will see you all next week. Have a good one.